Hi, it's Ash and I'm the vegan neuropsychologist, and in this video I want to share my opinions about people who eat meat, people who eat animal products, and vegans who go back to eating animal products. Now, I don't consider myself to be a vegan elitist. I also don't think I'm a militant vegan. I don't think I'm particularly extreme. However, I do have some strong opinions on things, including this issue, which is why I'm making this video. Now, if you like hearing things about veganism, personal development, mental health, and I also talk about parenting, then please hit the subscribe button below. Okay, so in the online community, in the vegan YouTube community, there's been lots of talk about expanding the definition of veganism. There have been a few vegans who admit that they eat animal products from time to time. There's been a few vegans who have decided to start incorporating animal products into their diet. So before I delve into that subject, I want to share a story with you. It's not really a story, it's kind of a metaphor for veganism. Just indulge me for a moment. So I live in Melbourne, Australia. And for those of you who know Melbourne, you will know that it is a very far-reaching city. It's very spaced out. I remember once traveling from one end of town to the other. It took 4 hours. It was just on a regular afternoon. So it's a pretty spaced out city. We've only got like 3 or 4 million people, but for some reason we all just seem to take up a lot of room. So as we're driving through Melbourne, you think you reach the edge of the city, but there's just more of it. There's more suburbs. But at some point, Melbourne ends. It has to end. At some point, the city finishes and you enter into a new town, or just into kind of a no man's land. There's no town there. I don't know who decides what the boundaries of a town are. I'm guessing it's city planners, something like that. But the point is that at some point, despite how widespread Melbourne is, at some point the city has to end, and it's important to know where that is for clarity for the people who are living in the city, for anyone who has to travel, for anyone who has to send a delivery, send a package into Melbourne. You need to know if a person is living in Melbourne or not. It's a very arbitrary place where that boundary is drawn. Because what happens if you live in the one house just past the boundary? I mean, you could say just spread out that boundary a little bit so it incorporates my house too. But no, at some point the boundary has to be drawn. Otherwise, Melbourne could just keep growing and eventually the entire country, the entire continent could just be Melbourne. So yes, it's random. Yes, it's arbitrary, but the line has to be drawn. And it is just like that with veganism. You know, I'm all for the radical reduction of animal products in one's diet. When my Omni friends come up to me and they say, you know, I'm doing meat-free Mondays, or they say, I've given up all meat. They say, you know what, I've dropped the dairy. I'm giving up all animal products except for cheese. When they say that to me, I'm thrilled and I'm so happy for them. Not only are they making the ethical choice, but they're also making a choice that's going to benefit their health in the long run. So I'm always very thrilled for them. And yes, in the back of my mind, there's a part of me that goes, well, don't forget the next step. But I know that that step will come in time. They make a change. They need a moment just to find their feet, adjust to their pescatarian ways or their vegan except for cheese ways, and then they'll be ready to take the next step. I don't think people who eat meat are bad. I myself ate meat for 27 years of my life. And the reasons that I didn't go vegan earlier, it was a combination of ignorance, apathy, but also fear. Fear of making the change. Fear that I wouldn't be able to do it. Fear of things that were completely unfounded. The fear of changing habits, the fear of the unknown, the fear of what will other people think of me. And if I experienced that before becoming vegan, then I'm sure that many other people who consume animal products experience it too. So people who eat animal products, I don't think they're bad people. I don't think they're evil. I don't think they're hell-bent on the destruction of their health or the destruction of the planet. I don't even think that they are intending to harm animals. They perhaps just don't see the bigger picture. I think it is possible for a meat eater to believe that he or she loves animals, but to continue to eat meat. Perhaps there's a little bit of denial going on there. So I don't think that eating animal products makes someone a bad person. I think that it is a bad decision, but I don't think it makes a bad person. So as people make the transition to a vegan lifestyle, so perhaps it starts with diet and they start by becoming pescatarian, and then they become vegetarian, and then they become a dietary vegan, and then they start to incorporate veganism into other aspects of their life. And at some point in the process, we draw a line and we say that that is vegan. Now, a person who is eating vegan 364 days of the year, and then on that one day, maybe Christmas Day, they say, yep, give me some meat. Yep, give me some eggs, give me some cheese. That person, it doesn't automatically make them bad for doing it. It doesn't mean that they're evil. It just happens to not be vegan. They are not vegan, because veganism is not a diet. It's not even a lifestyle. It is a way of thinking. It is a way of thinking where we reject this societal obsession with exploitation of animals. You know, as a culture, we seem to have embraced this idea that it's okay to use animals, that they're lesser than we are. They're not important like we are. They are inferior to us. When you change that programming, then you can't just eat meat occasionally, because when your thinking changes, you no longer support those sorts of industries. And please know, I'm making a very big distinction between avoidable and unavoidable harm. Things like car tires, or what our roads are made of, or medications, those things are unavoidably non-vegan because there is no vegan alternative. But to the person who takes that to say that, well, I can just eat cheese occasionally, or my pizza came out with some cheese on it, I might as well eat it, that's not the same thing. In this day and age, in 2017, there are so many options, so many food options. When you live in the Western world, we have an abundance of food. There is no need to be eating the occasional fish or the occasional cheese or whatever. Now, there are some gray areas when it comes to maybe clothing. What about purchases that you've made before you became vegan? If you got a pair of shoes, if you got a jacket that happens to be leather, if you got a coat that's made of wool, what do you do with those things? And everybody's got slightly different opinions. For me, I actually held on to those items for a while until they just disgusted me, and I actually sold them or donated them. And for instance, we used to have a leather couch, and we sold that about 4 years ago. And the money that we made from selling the couch, we actually gave to an animal sanctuary in our area. So there's no right answer when it comes to those sorts of things, but let's not allow these gray areas to cloud the whole dietary aspects of veganism. Because if you are vegan, if you have made the mental shift, then you would simply not be able to allow animal products to willingly, to knowingly enter your body. So we need to make the distinction between being a vegan versus simply eating a vegan diet. Because people can eat a vegan diet 1 day of the week, 6 days of the week, 364 days of the year. But as long as they continue to consume animal products, they are actually not vegan. They are simply eating a vegan diet on some days. Now, this happens to be my opinion, so please disagree if you will. If a person is eating animal products on 1 day of the year, it doesn't make them bad. If they're eating animal products just on weekends, it doesn't make them bad. It just so happens that they're not vegan. We need to maintain the integrity of the definition of veganism, and I've said this many times in videos before. I think as vegans, we can be encouraging and supportive of people as they're making the transition. So when someone comes up to you and says, I'm vegan except I eat cheese, maybe we can say, awesome, that's awesome. And what are your plans for eliminating the cheese? Out of curiosity. Rather than hounding them for, how dare you use the word vegan when you're still eating cheese or whatever it is. So I think we can be supportive. I think we should encourage all steps towards an ethical lifestyle. All steps at eliminating any kind of cruelty-based products, any cruelty-based foods in a person's diet. I think that's everything I wanted to say on this topic. And now I'd like to hear from you. So pop me a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Remember to subscribe and to hit the like button on this video. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.